boxing truth here. Looks like Jose Benavidez is possibly going to be Terence Crawford's next opponent. Now, this is a fight that I wouldn't mind. I would actually like to see how Benavidez would deal with Crawford. It's time to see what he's made of. He's had a long career, very disappointing, very unfulfilling career compared to a Crawford who has accomplished a whole lot more than what Benavidez has accomplished, which isn't much, only an interim strap to show for his career that was hyped up. Similar to Crawford, there was a time when him and Frankie Gomez was supposed to be the future of box, but that didn't pan out. Instead, he's been a disappointment. Got shot in his leg, been inactive, has had 2 comeback fights since. But he looked pretty good in his last fight against Frank Rojas, an undefeated fighter with a pretty solid, shiny looking record, 21 knockouts in 22 fights, and he dispatched him in 1 round, knocked him out with a body shot. I would like to see how Crawford deals with Benavidez. For whatever reason, according to Benavidez, he has turned him down as an opponent on more than one occasion. Now, Benavidez, he's a talented guy. The older of the 2 Benavidez brothers. He was making a lot of noise when he was coming up the ranks. When he was 17, he was already sparring the likes of Manny Pacquiao, Amir Khan. And he was supposed to be the future. I thought he beat El Maestro, Mauricio Herrera, in his step-up fight. But his career hasn't panned out. He's only fought 5 times since that Mauricio Herrera fight. But you can see in his last fight where he looked impressive, he could present some stylistic problems for Crawford because he's very tall for the division. He's 6'2". He's a rangy boxer. He's a good counterpuncher, and he has a good jab. So he has the qualities, the attributes, the tools needed to perhaps give Crawford some problems. Now, he's a possible opponent for next later this year. It looks like Crawford's going to have a homecoming showdown, home title defense. And Crawford has raised some eyebrows since his win over Jeff Horn. I mean, let's face it, that's his best win to date. That's the best fighter he's fought, and that's the best fighter he's defeated. Jeff Horn will whoop all of Crawford's previous opponents. I really hope Jeff Horn gets a chance against another top welterweight like a Danny Garcia and Sean Porter, and you'll see how good Jeff Horn is. He showed it in flashes against Crawford. It's just, it wasn't his night that night. But this Benavidez fight will be interesting when it comes to the physicality Benavidez has, and Benavidez has been calling him out. He's been one of the few fighters that have been very, very vocal about wanting to fight Terence Crawford. And Crawford he's been falling on deaf ears when it comes to the call-outs. But of course, Benavidez is not really relevant. Hasn't been relevant for quite some time. But he's a top-ranked fighter. It's a fight Bob Arum has expressed interest in making. It's a fight that is a possibility that's going to be next. I mean, what are the options for Crawford for his next fight? I doubt Amir Khan fights him in Omaha. I doubt Amir Khan fights a Terence Crawford next after just only, 40 seconds of work against La Greco. It's going to be the similar path Kell Brook is taking, fighting an unknown, unheralded guy, but maybe a world-rated guy like Brandon Cook, where Khan takes a stay busy fight, and then eventually Khan and Brook will happen. So I don't see Khan really being in the mix. Whether the Pacquiao fight truly has problems, doesn't seem like Pacquiao is aware of these problems. To me, it sounds like Bob Arum is hating on Manny Pacquiao. A little salty that he no longer has control over Pacquiao, and he's saying things like stuff he wouldn't have said just a couple of years ago. But now that Pacquiao's on his own, Arum has no control. Now Arum is singing a different tune. But I wouldn't mind this fight for Crawford next. It's a decent title defense. I want to see what Benavidez has. I want to see what potential he has, how good he is. And he presents some stylistic problems. I'm not saying he will beat Crawford because he has no momentum going into the fight. He's only had 2 get-back fights against unheralded opposition. But he's a good counter-puncher. He's long, rangy, tall as hell for the division. He has a good jab. I don't think it'll be a walk in the park for Crawford. It will be an interesting fight. It's a little grudge match there, a little rivalry. Benavidez has wanted to fight Crawford for quite some time, and I wouldn't mind him being the next opponent. It'll be an interesting fight. Perhaps a much more difficult fight than anticipated because of what this guy brings, Benavidez. He's probably not as good as his younger brother, but it's been a long road for Benavidez. He's been around for quite some time, and it's time to see where he's at. Let's see, what he's got. Top Rank has had him for a while. He's had a lot of setbacks. Roll the dice with him. See if he can pull off an upset. See if he could become that star that he was supposed to become. I wouldn't mind this fight next. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this fight. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.